Okay, so what if the reason you're not having more lucid dreams is because you're making a really common, really simple mistake? Well, in today's video, I'm going to explore the most common mistakes beginner lucid dreamers make and how you can fix them and have more lucid dreams. Easy lucid dreaming mistakes. So, when you're new to a subject, it's really easy to make mistakes because you don't know what you don't know and you've only got the advice out there to rely on. So, what I see as a lucid dreaming teacher is beginners making the same mistakes over and over again. And oftentimes, it's something really simple that if they were to just fix that one way of thinking, they'd have a lot more lucid dreams. In today's video, I'm going to focus on one of the core practices for lucid dreaming, commonly known as reality checks. Reality checks are building the habit to regularly question whether this is a dream right now. It's something that lucid dreamers should learn to do, but you need to do it right. So here are common reality check mistakes. Othering. Right, so when you're new to lucid dreaming, it's really tempting to other the state of lucid dreaming. And what I mean by that is to put it on a kind of pedestal. Now, depending on the kind of person you are, you can do this in multiple different ways, but common ways of othering lucid dreaming is to think of lucid dreams as this elaborate or exotic state of mind that's really difficult to achieve. And another common thing to do is to think of lucid dreaming as some kind of spiritual achievement, something that requires a whole bunch of self work to achieve. And neither of these are completely untrue because lucid dreaming is, by definition, an altered state of mind, and it is part of spiritual practice, philosophical exploration. However, you don't want to overblow that. Because lucid dreaming itself is actually a rather mundane state of mind. Everyone dreams every night, and everyone is mostly conscious most of the day. All you're really doing is adding two very simple things together, dreams and consciousness, and then you have a lucid dream. It's not as exotic or as weird as people like to think. In fact, if you really want to boil lucid dreaming down to the basics, then what you're actually doing is simply noticing something. You're noticing that you're dreaming, and we're all capable of noticing. So if you're struggling with lucid dreaming, try not to put it on a pedestal because that will only hold you back. Future thinking. Okay, so future thinking might be the most common reality check mistake that virtually all beginner lucid dreamers do. In fact, I see it so often it's become kind of a barometer for how well my students are doing. So it goes something like this. You know that you need to question reality regularly, perform your reality checks, but you think of it this way. You don't think, every time I do a reality check, what I'm actually doing is checking whether this moment is a dream. Instead, you kind of think that, well, I'm doing this practice so that tonight when I'm dreaming, I'll replicate that practice. So rather than being present in the moment and doing your reality check, knowing that this moment itself might be a dream, you're going through the motions. You're doing it to build a habit that you're hoping will affect your dreams tonight. But of course, if you do it that way, when you do reach your dreams tonight, then if you do perform a reality check, you'll be doing it with that same blunted mindset where you're not really taking it seriously. Or in the most basic terms, a reality check is essentially a question and a form of meditation and a mindset. It is not a habit you're building for the future to do something later. It is an interrogation of this moment right now. You have to seriously be open to the concept that you might be dreaming in the moment. So, every reality check you perform must be done with an open mind that maybe you're dreaming right now. Stop thinking of lucid dreaming as something that happens in the future and think of it as something that happens right now. Not being serious. Okay, so this lucid dreaming mistake is probably just as common as the previous one, and that is not taking your practice seriously, especially when it comes to reality checks. So I see this over and over again. It's so common, it's ridiculous. I'll give you an example. Oftentimes, when I'm performing lucid dream tuition and I'm talking to a new student, we'll get some way into the session and I'll say to them, "This is a bit weird. Maybe you're dreaming right now." And what almost always happens is they'll do a little chuckle, haha, yeah, it could be a dream. And then they'll just move on. They'll not perform a reality check, they'll forget to do one. They'll take the idea that this moment right now could be a dream as if it's a bit of a joke. And what have they done? Well, they've completely ignored the possibility that maybe they're dreaming. And this is so common and so insidious that even when I say to a student, hold on a second, you should have performed a reality check right then, they'll still kind of shrug it off. They still won't do it, or they'll half heartedly do one. A reality check is your doorway between worlds. When you ask the question, could this be a dream right now? You have to ask it seriously. You have to be really open to that possibility. Lucid dreaming is that. It is becoming someone who is open to the possibility that any moment could be a dream. And when you ask that question, you have to ask it seriously and ask it now. Technicalities. Beginners often get caught up in technicalities. They worry about the order in which things should be done, or what specific things should be done. And when it comes to reality checks, that's all not quite as important as it seems. At its heart, a reality check is essentially a question asked with humility, with no assumptions about the answer, and then you answer that question with something that will give you a reliable answer. So when people talk about reality checks, what they're often talking about without realizing it is how you answer the question. So reality checks come in lots of different shapes and flavors. There's the nose pinch test, there's counting your fingers, there's looking at text, looking away and reading it again, there's the digital watch test, there's the finger through palm test, there's loads of different tests. But all of these tests are completely pointless and become habitual if you forget that they're the answer to a question. The correct framing for a reality check is this. Something makes you think that I should perform a test right now. I should question reality right now. So here I am in this moment, wondering whether it might be a dream. I'm going to ask myself the question, could this be a dream right now? How can I answer that question? How can I get definitive proof whether this moment right now is a dream or reality? The tests themselves are secondary to the question. They are the end of the equation. Is this a dream? Do the test. The output tells you the answer. So what we're really looking for is a reliable test. You don't want to get caught up in the technicalities of what order you should do things. Just remember that you're asking a question and you're looking for a reliable answer. And if you're not satisfied with the answer, if you're still unsure, then do a few more things until you know for certain whether you're dreaming or awake. Gut feeling. The most unreliable way to know whether you're dreaming right now is to go with your gut feeling, because your gut feeling will always tell you that, nah, I'm awake, it's obviously waking reality right now. And this is the primary problem for lucid dreamers. It's the habit we're trying to break. This assumption that we just know whether we're awake or not. We don't. We're rubbish at it. Our ability to judge it based on how we feel or how real things seem is terrible. And we know it is because we have loads of non-lucid dreams where we just assume at the time that it's all real. We're terrible at judging reality based on our intuition and our gut feeling. And this is why most of the other problems, the other mistakes arise. When I talk to my students and I say, maybe you're dreaming right now, they default to checking their gut feeling. So they don't think it's even necessary to perform a reality check. It seems so self-evident that they're awake. Unlike almost all self-help knowledge out there, For lucid dreamers, what we're trying to do is to develop self-doubt, to not be so arrogant about our assumptions about reality. When we perform a reality check, we need to do so with a completely clear and open mind, with no assumptions. So learn to ignore that voice inside you or that feeling that tells you that it's pointless, that you already know the answer. When we perform a reality check, what we're actually doing is interrogating reality, and we're listening to the answer it gives us. We are forgetting our own opinions, and we are simply looking at the evidence. Thank you to my channel benefactors for making this video possible: Mirat Yilmaz, Command Baker, and Rock Geezer. And if you're still hungry for more lucid dreaming content, try watching one of the videos on the screen right now. I'll see you there.